just destroy everybody.
Coach Moon explained to me the way that they've been scrimming, and not to disrespect their opponents, but they've just been opening up the ban. So what that means is they're just banning random stuff.
Yeah.
And then just sort of seeing what gets through. What if their opponents want to play, they're not banning anything that would actually like hamper their opponents from playing their perfect looks. And they've been pretty comfortable doing that. They've just not really practiced that ban strategy. I know they've got one developed, and they know they're going to be happy to use it when push comes to shove here, but a Ramatra ban might just be pretty arbitrary, not necessarily targeted, as a lot of teams don't really want to play that Nero right now.
It could be more just to get rid of the Ramatra to open up the ability for you to play the dive, heroes that you would like to play, right? I don't think it's like, I know we're worried about, VARREL, in their Ramatra comp, right? I think it's more to just kind of benefit what Crazy Raccoon is trying to do.
All right, there is real potential for Wrecking Ball, but this is probably one of the harder maps for that to be made to work here. Also, we've seen a limited amount of Freya in that first game. She is available and unbanned in this series.
So we'll get a chance here in a bit. We'll see what Crazy Raccoon actually decides to do.
Are we going back to Dallas with the Junbin Roadhog? That would be so good.
So VARREL will actually come out here. They will run an Orisa-based composition, with that BAP Lucio we talked a little bit about in that first series, right? Probably one of the better support lines, and Junbin will end up playing the ball here, and you're going to have the Pharah for some insane poke.
But see that disruption that actually forces Nico out of the ideal sidelines to be able to pressure someone like Heesang across the map. So the Pharah's got a ton of breathing room early, and KSG needs to respect this. The damage that he's taking now puts pressure on his backline to keep the throughput at a very high point. Watch out for concussive blast here. Dangerous to play on the edge of the map.
Well, it's also brutal because you're taking damage from every part of the map, right? When you're KSG and you go to the point, you have the Shu Ana from one angle, you have Heesang on the far in another angle as a conk there. So
would you like
not going well here.
Would you like to tell me what about going up against a Wrecking Ball Pharah comp makes you want to play on that part of the map?
None. Really none. I think they were trying to actually make a play for Shu, and they ended up getting him. They TP'd out. But after that, I mean, nothing able to happen.
No, they Javelin Bro off the map, which is fine. That's great. You do have to go after this Ana in this composition if you're VARREL. It's one of the biggest things that keep Junbin in a position where he doesn't have to, leave and benefit from health packs, but that's a big ask. Just over the top. Just what do they call that? I see that in American football when they just jump over the defender's head.
A hurdle.
A hurdle. It absolutely hurdles the diva. Thank you, Matt. KSG going to be close to desuiting here. Chorong's been picked off though. Top Dragon has switched off the sim and is going over to Author Tracer, and that's paying off much better for him. Finally, Nico, with that pressure being relieved, is able to get back into good sight lines to challenge Heesang.
And you just need to withstand the dive that comes in from Junbin, right? You're able to use that immortality field to be able to kind of pressure him back, and then that's when you need to go on the attack. Also helps that Nico connects to some shots, but I mean, KSG just gets deleted there by Lip.
Well, he opted not to drop off the map and just come back from spawn. You could, in theory, taxi KSG back, but he'll be in the fray momentarily. It's created an opening, though, for Crazy Raccoon to flip this point, and now a longer fight will just give them more and more percentage.
I mean, are you going to be able to flip this off this Am Matrix?
No.
I mean, Junbin is gone.
You can just nano the Pharah here. This is dangerous. You know you're going to be looking at a Heesang barrage if you're not careful. And already the immortality field got drawn out of VARREL. This is dangerous. Heesang, though, doesn't feel like he really needs to go for an aggressive barrage, but he's really punishing with his splash damage in his close quarters.
It's going to be sound barriers from both sides. It'll be a Deadeye here from Nico. Gets canceled, though, as the barrage now comes in as Nico takes another rocket there, gets finished off as Chorong's still alive. You end up losing Shu, and direct there onto the baby diva. That is filthy.
And again, I've got to call back to VARREL's decision to keep KSG around in the fight in that mini diva form and in the front line. I know you've got to try and get ult charge back with the Bunny Blaster, but you gave a free kill over to Lip, and therefore, like a 10-second delay on your diva getting back into the fray. Questionable indeed. Crazy Raccoon here canvass the point with mines, and VARREL don't have a chance to even touch it.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough start there for VARREL, but I think Crazy Raccoon just taking care of business, as I think most of us expect. For VARREL, I think they did a decent job keeping their backline alive, right? Using that immortality field. They had to use it really early on, though, in a lot of the fights. So maybe you just want to hold on to it a little bit longer and get a slightly more value out of it.
Yeah, like my issues, I think, for VARREL more on the macro side of things here, Matt. That is an egregious situation for KSG. Look, the answer to the Pharah is a tough one. coming up with that. Coming up with that Tracer switch up there for Top Dragon. Excuse me, folks. Just a mild blip there. But yeah, Top Dragon switched to the Tracer and is actually able to run through the backline in one of those fights, which let, you know, Nico get out into the open.
And we're going to see Freya come in here. So Freya, we haven't seen so far here today on this stream. It's been banned, and we actually see it get banned a decent amount. So Nico will be able to play the Freya, maybe offer a little bit more range there, but Heesang goes off the side.
Note the VARREL as well have a Iliari in their composition, so they're playing a very poke-heavy, somewhat greedy backline, but one that can really, you know, put a lot of heal pressure down on Heesang, forced you know, Chorong and Shu to be looking in the Farah direction more so than the Wrecking Ball one. And Nico's done well opening things up here, dealing with Chorong. Lip, though, wants to hang around. He finally clears out that healing pylon, takes up residence in the dojo now while he waits for reinforcements.
Well, I guess ultimately, if you're VARREL, right, they were running the Lucio in the last round. Like, what do you really need Sound Barrier for? Like, there's not a huge ultimate you're going to be able to, you know, survive. Like, you're not going to survive a Nano Barrage with it, right? So you trade that in for a little bit more damage with the Iliari.
Right here in close quarters by the looks of things, Nico benefiting from the immortality field for a time, but eventually Junbin's kind of going to come back around for another pass. Shu, safe position to be in, but we know Top Dragon is going to be looking to drag the Ana down. So far, though, he's not been able to take Shu's eyes off the prize. That is the badonkadonk of his teammates as he keeps those healing darts coming in. KSC on the D-suit. Crazy Raccoon concedes 36% before flipping back.
And it's a really tough comp for KSG to play into because you're obviously trying to use the defense matrix for, I know, the far rockets, whether there's a bio grenade coming in, but then also trying to use it a little bit more defensively to end up, you know, trying to take away some of that damage that Junbin or Lip would put on the back line, some of that pressure. You just don't have that much defense matrix, right? You're going to have to give up something, and that time turns and just gets, you know, rocketed from behind.
Oh, Nico, nowhere to go. A little bit snarled up there on the eaves of that rooftop map, but many parts of this VARREL composition are a little bit vulnerable to getting dove on by Lip and Junbin in quick succession. Some mobility there, sure, between Outburst and Exo Boots, and the dash of Cloud can work his way towards that perk, but still, very, very challenging to handle this look for Crazy Raccoon, and they look so comfortable. Recall there as an unsuccessful pulse bomb came out there from Lip and Nico. When you're forced inside, it means, yep, you're susceptible to a Bionade.
Yeah, no follow-up, though, as the rocket spam still coming in from Heesang is now you'll actually get a touch here as KSG will step up onto the point. Gonna have a self-destruct race, so gonna have a ability to get the mech back. I wonder if Chorong and Co, yeah, it's gonna be a sound barrier. They're gonna go fast.
Captive Sun here from Slay, but it's gonna be ignored for Crazy Raccoon as they look to take it up front, close and personal engagement. And there's Cloud picked up first. Slay held onto the Captive Sun for a long time and will be able to pick off Shu with the detonation of that debuff, but there's surely more work to be done here. Junbin though eventually falls, that extra healing not available, and Heesang throws in a bit of a risky barrage that comes up with nothing but a Diva mech.
I'm a bit surprised to end up using the barrage because you were going to have the nano to be able to combo with it here. Maybe you feel good enough to be able to just nano the Farah even without the nano, without the barrage, and come up with some kills. That's exactly what they're going to do.
All right, there we go. Shu getting his own nano, of course, as it's given over to Heesang primarily, and there's nothing Cloud could do about that. KSG turns around, tries to intervene, but he's a little bit too slow, too late to keep the Baptiste standing. And with Slay having already been picked up, that is curtains for VARREL.
Now, honestly, they're lucky that KSG didn't get demeched, ends up making it out with the mech.
That would have been bad.
That would have been horrible. So now one last chance here for VARREL. It'll be KSG and Top Dragon who get on the point, so they'll get a touch.
Pulse for Top Dragon here might find some use if Junbin gets a little bit too close. And Nico, of course, with this bowler shot, has to hope that Crazy Raccoon group up in some regard and just sort of using it on Junbin here. Pulse bomb, though, there. Great little 1-2 punch from the DPS of VARREL. Gets rid of Junbin. And that puts VARREL in a position to extend the game a little bit. Nico forced away. Heesang caught by a bolt, and Cloud's able to finish the job. You heard it. The eat of that pulse bomb. And the KSG gets max value from that fight.
It was going to be a pulse bomb that was going to connect to Slay and just turns and ends up eating it with the defense matrix. So huge play there by KSG keeps VARREL in the game. So you probably got 2 more opportunity here for Crazy Raccoon, and then look at this, Mitch. You're going to have Heesang switch over and play Sombra here. Amp Matrix used early. Crazy Raccoon will back up. So maybe here you're just looking at like a hack on the D.Va, a D-Mech, and then that's how you're going to win the round.
Yeah, target the D.Va first here, ideally. If you get an anti-heal as well, it's just, there's nothing that can be done to keep them in the fight. Oh, okay, Katniss Sun does get deployed. He's saying affected by the debuff, but no one's there to actually get enough damage to trigger it. Over the edge, apparently. Maybe knocked off course there by Junbin. It's a dangerous part of the map to play, and there's the virus connection on Slay. Top Dragon, though, was there to help, and there was a healing pylon, so Slay will still be standing. Here's a minefield now from Junbin. It's a bit of threat generated on that proximity of the point as the healing pylon's cleared out. Nico looking for a way in, and KSG ideally should create one as VARREL still have control of the point and can even afford to let it flip back, but will have to get involved and intervene before the round ends. Lip with the pulse, KSG going low once more. We have a Moira now into the fight. Slay making the switch up as a bowler shot came through from Nico, but Lip's able to take him down. It's Cloud out of the picture. That's not ideal. Moira has to carry the lion's share of the hearing load now for VARREL, and Lip is waiting for the gold. Oh, no! Oh, Junbin, that is... You can't be doing that, bro.
For the game as well.
You can't be doing that. You cannot be doing that. Oh, buddy, that is so tough for Lip there, as of course Junbin sailed on past him with the pulse bomb stuck to him and ended up blowing both of them up. Hey. Top Dragon couldn't be happy with that little exchange.
And longer sight lines, right? Able to use that Freya here to kind of counter some of the stuff that the Pharah can do. So this is that barrage they end up using when they don't have the nano to combo with it. So this is a little interesting. Obviously, maybe not an opportunity to because he gets spotted, but the virus does so much more damage with the hack. The hack didn't actually come through.
This is... buddy. Yeah. Well, it happens to the best of them, as has just been proven. Top Dragon with a big impact in that first round, Matt. That Tracer play has been excellent.
A map win for VARREL here would be crazy, right? To go up 1-0. Crazy Raccoon obviously would have 2 map selections there at the, well, I have a map selection. You probably get another one there if it goes to the distance, where this would be a huge steal.
He's saying he's waiting for something. Looking for a chance to knock Cloud off the map. Stuck with the ball here. He's got to commit and at least finds a 1-for-1 exchange. That's going to have to be enough for Heesang. Top Dragon is starting to get a little bit hungry. Pressure on Chu. Chorong taken low as well, and KSG turning up just where he's needed. That's the risk of playing with these Wrecking Ball comps. Junbin can't always get back, and honestly, appealing ball is not really an appealing concept.
Well, you see when Nico is able to at least even trade with Heesang. These are fights that VARREL is able to come out on top in constantly, and that's going to have Heesang switch away from Pharah and move over to Echo. Echo's still going to be pretty tough to play against here. With here, Mitch, because like the Frey is pretty good against Echo. Tracer historically has been pretty good. You have 2 poking, support, so you're in a pretty good spot here. I still think if you're VARREL.
Yeah, still this though, difference maker. Yeah. When Pharah wants the longer fights, I mean, you can just have Echo come in, dump cooldowns, and just take someone out of the game because. He's saying playing the Pharah, you want to hang around, get consistent damage, but you're very exposed to Nico, to the whole backline as well. This is a better choice, I think, against his high poke look.
I'd consider Cassidy maybe for the Freya if I'm VARREL, where you have an opportunity to kind of play with the Cassidy around both of those supports. Not as long distance is Echo compared to the Pharah, as they get Shu. It's going to force the sound barrier out.
Yeah, Chorong's able to find Cloud, though, and Slate falls to a pulse bomb. Junbin clearing things out here. Now as a bowler shot gets wound up, but Nico gets blown up before he can really make any use of it. This, I think, more up-tempo look is better for Crazy Raccoon against a slightly, I mean, look, it's a backline that doesn't have a sustain ultimate. I think that's like a big deal. So you could get in there, blow them up quickly. It's not like you can respond with a sound barrier or something to kick you in the fight. Pulse bomb there, fair enough, but Junbin this time doesn't carry it to his teammates, so VARREL can't turn it into anything more.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying maybe go Cassidy here, right? Kind of play into a little bit of that, slower play style where Nico's going to play at range. Maybe the opportunity to kind of stack up, play around your BAP, and go, that is one that is a little far right
thinking. I think
I love it.
He's saying with the dupe of the D.Va here. Immortality Field thrown down, and it all means that KSC is going to be able to get back into the back. But in the meantime, Junbin just turned Nico and Cloud into Marmalade. Flattened them in the back line. Cloud's Immortality Field having already been cleared out just earlier, and he's saying is really adding a lot of virtual health points to this fight. Pops out of mech, of course, with a fresh set of cooldowns and expends them, taking KSG out of mech once more.
Yeah, and Top Dragon just getting near the point, trying to maybe touch I would say not the most value out of the Captive Sun there. No, using it as an aerial zoning tool.
Yes, I think you might need some the heat-seeking perk upgrade. You know, the one that makes Captive Sun home? Yeah, that could be good.
Get that one on Custa's desk.
Scotty, make it happen, brother, for the boys. All right, 88% and counting now. Lipton with a pulse bomb to work with. Immortality Field coming down early, which means the way is open here for a potential Tracer ultimate to take the game. The top dragon has to be addressed. He's threatening the point, so Lip has to double back, and Junbin eventually just runs out of sustain. 4 players up here for Crazy Raccoon. Shu isolated out towards the edges of the engagement, so Top Dragon has done his job, keeping Crazy Raccoon at the fringes of the point.
But without a support ultimate in terms of sustain, how does VARREL combat through this sound barrier that's going to come through, right? It feels like they get sound barrier and just run on through them there. As the sound barrier actually only connects with 3.
Yeah, they have to hope to have comparable healing throughput to match the sound barrier's impact, and with the big cooldowns that Cloud and
Slay not a good beat.
It's possible. No, a little bit hasty, I think, for Crazy Raccoon, and now that map win possibility you floated earlier on might just be on the cards. VARREL, yes, have to spend their Ramp Matrix and their Boulder Shot in their fight, but they brave the storm of the sound barrier from CR.
And without the sound barrier, you know, obviously there's no support ultimate option in terms of sustain for Crazy Raccoon. If you see Shu, just shoot that Captive Sun.
Got to happen here, though. Cloud couldn't quite get away. The minefield was a dangerous prospect to drop down on, and he got caught by the Tracer in mid-air. Shu picked off, though. Nika's able to get rid of him, and the Captive Sun has now been wound up and is in play. Junbin trying to break line of sight, dodge away. It's going to be Heesang cleaning up Nika, though, with those sticky bombs, and now Lip can double down. Junbin joins him for the fight, and Slay goes by the wayside. KSG looking low impact and pretty submissive, frankly, in this position. Knocked out of mech, and an Immortality Field won't let KSG stay around long enough to get back in the mech with a Bunny Blaster. Lip deals with Top Dragon AR Pulse Bomb that never had to be used as Crazy Raccoon play it close, but VARREL fumble at the finish line.
Extremely competitive, though. First game there from these two teams, right? I think a lot of people, probably us included, expected Crazy Raccoon to come in and just kind of roll through VARREL, but that map 1 was very close. Could have went either way.
Yeah, plenty to hang your hat on. I think if you're a VARREL fan, Top Dragon with a great individual performance over both of these stages. The Tracer play looked very good. He stands up to Lip on many an occasion. And of course, for this team, like, the objective is pretty clear, Matt. It's avoid Junbin, prevent him from disrupting you, burst him down so he has to go for health packs, and then find Shu. Dig out the Ana on some part of the map and take them down. Yeah, that was not a great look.
You think that's when he got rolled into with the pulse bomb?
Might have been, because I think that was actually Heesang falling off the map as VARREL, which is something you don't expect to see. Shaky for Crazy Raccoon, but still, the result is what matters, and coming out of map 1 with a dub is all they really need at the end of the day. I also quite like the Baptiste Iliari backline, especially into the ball. It's a backline that can stand on its own 2 feet, can really fire back. But when you come into fights where your opponent has sound barrier or have this rush of supportive utility, whether from overshield or like a healing amplification, it's hard to really meet them with the same level of impact in those windows.
I'm so curious what the map pick and bans are going to be from VARREL here. So looks like Coach Moon just figuring out what they want to do on the Crazy Raccoon side in terms of bans. But like, what are you necessarily, like, are you worried about the ball per se on like other maps? Because it seemed at times they were able to kind of battle it back. I think the comp actually looked way more beatable for VARREL when the Pharah was out of the way, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, Heesang made that switch, of course, because he didn't want to, you know, have those more sustained sort of episodes where he has to, you know, put bits of damage here and there and allow it to be followed up on by Lip, whereas Echo can actually is the one that cleans off those kills. Focusing beam, of course, being far more effective on those lower health targets. So the idea is get in, burst people down with the cooldowns, get back out, get back to safety, fall back to where Shu at least has good line of sight to you, and you can just regenerate those cooldowns. So I feel like it was a wise choice considering just how much poke pressure the VARREL's composition had. Still risky. You're still floating. You're still an airborne target. Yeah,
there's also a world in which you get rid of the Freya, right? If you're Crazy Raccoon, if that's if you want to continue to kind of play some of that Pharah comp. So maybe that's the route they decide to go with. So maybe we see that come in from Crazy Raccoon, where Looks like at least the map pick we're seeing, potentially Circuit. So that would be an interesting one. That is one you can definitely play the Bapalari, right?
Do you remember the last map at Champions Clash?
Yeah.
Circuit Royal that featured none other than Reinhardt picked in that game. The most bizarre.
Oh, like that was
Overwatch.
That was like 5 a.m. I think everybody was losing to that.
I mean, I can't forget it. It was such an odd. Obviously, that was a series that like went the distance, right? Went all the way. Both the teams are, really pushing each other to the limit. It was a 4-2, so it went to 6 in the end. But Circuit Royal was classic because it was about whether like there was a Ramatra ban and a Juno ban. So like you couldn't really, a lot of teams weren't trying to play those sort of rush comps. But I think there was like Sim Reinhardt mixed in there. Just legendary Overwatch. So Crazy Raccoon, in the discussion of whether this is a map pick that VARREL are trying to catch Crazy Raccoon out on, there's no way. These guys are just trying to put themselves in the best battlefield for their favorite comp and see if they can take a map away from these tournament favorites.
And I also think like Crazy Raccoon isn't necessarily going to ban, like would they ban BAP or Alari per se? Because like, they can play that as well.
You can definitely ban Baptiste. Like obviously Shu is probably credited with some of the most legendary moments on that particular hero. But folks, we're stepping aside for a moment. We've got a substitution occurring on stage. I think you could probably guess what it's going to be. So we'll be back, of course, with our second map of this first of two opener of Group B between Crazy Raccoon and VARREL of Japan.
This land is calling.
Group B here at the OWCS Mid-Season Championship is an interesting place featuring Crazy Raccoon, Rock Esports, Team Liquid, and their current opponents, VARREL. And I will say, Matthew, that first map of Lijiang Tower was a bit of an eyebrow raiser for me, and a positive one for VARREL as they play it pretty close in the end, with a Baptiste Iliari composition that causes some issues for Crazy Raccoon's Wrecking Ball setup. But Map 2, of course, is just around the corner. VARREL dropping, obviously, Lijiang Tower. And a substitution here being made for Crazy Raccoon. Max has been brought into the fold.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure you guys can assume at home when we're talking about a sub what's going to happen. As VARREL's waving to the fans. They got some fans here as they're having a great time. But Max coming in here for Junbin, Circuit Royal. So it makes a lot of sense in terms of the sub.
Yeah, look, this is the kind of map where obviously teams that go away from playing those high mobility tank comps, the dive setup, you can play Diva here, but we have seen teams trend away from that more in the direction of, you know, Ramatra, all those brawl-style compositions. We've even seen Sigma worked into the poke setup, but this map selection might also influence the choice of bans, because Max and Junmin have some overlap between their hero pools, but in general, we know that Max likes to play more in those rush comps. Yeah,
and I wonder what the bans will end up being, right? Like, for Crazy Raccoon, you probably want Ramatra, Sigma, even like an Orisa to kind of like make their way through, right? To be of value here on circuit. And then for VARREL, I think you're fine playing that like a Ilari BAP backline. So we'll get a chance we'll get you guys the bans once we have them. But I'm curious to see where they both decided to go.
Now, we shouldn't be too far from jumping in the game here, folks. Of course, there's some real legends of the game on stage right now, on the Crazy Raccoon side more than anything. And again, I wouldn't mind seeing the run back of the Iliari backline here for VARREL. Like back Iliari, look very reasonable. I think also you might want to look at something like the Venture, which we saw make its way into play earlier on. But either way, you are not going to be able to ban Ramatra out here if you are VARREL.
Yes, a lot of other options potentially though for VARREL. So players are in game. We're getting it all kind of set up here shortly. But I think it's I think this is a pretty good look. If you're Crazy Raccoon, you obviously expect to win this series. It's proven to be pretty tasty, pretty good warm-up here moving forward.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed what we saw from our first map there of Lijiang Tower. Here are your bans. Lucio getting banned here first by VARREL. Follow-up will be the Venture.
Yeah, so Venture goes here from CR. So they want to get rid of the Venture. They're pretty aggressive towards the back line, right? So we get rid of that. And then Lucio gone on the other side for VARREL. It also ends up protecting, like, let's say them banning like a BAP or something along those lines. So I think it's a pretty good option here for VARREL. They weren't probably going to play the Lucio anyway, so now getting it out, I think it allows him to secure the backline that they want.
Yeah, tougher for those, you know, the rush comps to function, or without that burst of speed that lets you hit a backline. So obviously opens up those more squishy options when it comes to your support. We've seen the Baptiste Iliari already.
This isn't really a Venture map, though.
No.
Like, you can play them on this map, but it wouldn't be one I'd be like scared of, like Venture, like them dominating.
Yeah. I mean, again, as a follow-up ban, it's not a protect. So you know that they are, which, I mean, yeah, you're right. It is interesting to see the Venture being looked at in such a way. It could have come out of scrims, obviously. Venture wants more like of a concentric environment, right? Like a static point as opposed to like a dynamic objective that's sort of moving across the map. But they can still be difficult to deal with in some flank lines.
They could have banned Freya, but I guess maybe it's because Lip wants to play it?
Yeah. I mean, pretty reasonable option here. Freya really feels like problematic. I think we've got teams on the wrong sides here, folks. So we just need to go back to lobby and get them flipped over. Obviously, is when you get to choose map, that side choice goes to your opponent.
Shu MVP. I mean, that is
like it's another Sunday.
Always something in play. Yeah.
Yeah, probably one of the winningest support players when it comes to MVP titles picked up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you think like early on, like even AG.AL, right? Like it was like JJoNak, and then I think, you know, players like Shu took it to a whole another level. I mean,
yeah, you know, I think we're definitely at the point where we can consider JJonak's legacy superseded by someone like Shu, just in terms of tenure and just the uncanny rate that he delivers those moments that are really match defining. So you saw Chorong on your screen there briefly. He was someone who, remember when he first landed on that Florida team, the rumors were that he was given the bag, and I tell you what, he was worth it. It was absolutely worth the spend on him. He really, really impressed us a lot of the time with his Lucio, but more so at the time, the Brig play. We were in a meta that featured a lot of like Brig and Ashe, and a lot of maps where defenders really wanted to push their high ground advantage. And, you know, Brig obviously functioned nicely alongside the Ashe to deny that dive. That was obviously pretty crucial. Top Dragon in good spirits. Great to chat with him, of course. Obviously, he spent a fair bit of time across a bunch of different teams. He was on the Vision roster in EMEA. He went over to Wei, which now is AG.AL, over in South Korea, and then made his way over to Japan. So, really well-spoken guy. Had a great chat with him, and he obviously extends a great deal of respect to his opponents. None more.
Yeah, what are you doing that you got time to chat to everybody?
Yeah,
with Moon, chatting with Top Dragon. I mean,
it's very helpful because like he and Slay, I had them in the booth, just like some rapid fire questions, but some of them required some explaining. So Top Dragon was gracious enough to translate for me to Slay, and I was able to speak to him through Top Dragon. So it was fantastic. Yeah, good bunch of guys.
So we got the sides swamped that one, so this time we'll be ready to go. All things considered, yeah, I was like a Crazy Raccoon have banned. Like, if they want to play far, right, could they have just banned the Freya? Like, that seemed to give them the most trouble.
I feel like we've moved away from seeing a ton of the Pharah on maps like this.
Yeah.
I think that, like, opting for the I like the Mei on defense here, right? It's one of the few things that can stop Ramatra in his tracks when he's in Annihilation.
Yeah.
Either by a wall, but more commonly like saving Blizzard specifically to counter it. And I think the matchup, you know, between the Ramatra and the Orisa in the front line is a pretty interesting one. Definitely cooldown oriented, as Orisa is definitely the one that really wants to get in the face, and Ramatra has some space creating tools to get a bit of breathing room. And then obviously an entire sense of modality when he pops that Nemesis form. He'll try and run past the Orisa into the back line and knock some heads together.
Let's see.
Okay.
So, maybe they think there was going to be like D.Va on defense. We'll see if Max decides to change. Yeah. So it'll be Orisa in the mix. We have seen more Zarya like into D.Va as of late.
Some of her perks are really interesting, honestly. Yeah. The way that she can actually offer more utility than just the shield to teammates. I think the Swanner perk, it's called, gives them move speed, which is kind of crazy. It's the one sort of buff in the game that has seemed to be so sought after in every meta. Crazy Raccoon, they'll come out with the Juno and the Ana composition, and they will have a sim in place, so keep an eye out here for these flanks to the right side of your screen, up those staircases, but in order to do that, Crazy Raccoon have got to get in position without taking casualties, and Lip is the first to fall.
Yeah, Top Dragon just kind of like peeks around this corner, just rips him with a headshot, so that'll stop things. But yeah, you have Heesang being able to use this TP, just kind of get around this dangerous corner, put Lip in off angle, get the entire team into the back line, a lot of different options. Maywall here, not super good.
Yeah, not effective. But with the Bionic Grenade connecting onto KSG, he just has to get that ground straight away. Now, Crazy Raccoon have a genuine staging point to really try and fight for this coastline. See, Top Dragon walls up just for a little bit of safety. There is a sim turret in play, and Top Dragon flanked out. The orbs that are coming in. Max opts to go through there as well. This leaves the door open for KSG to run into Crazy Raccoon's backline, but all he could do was get Shu. That is not enough. There's 4 other legends of the game pummeling you.
And I mean, that is a nano onto the Orisa, just using the spear spin, getting into the backline, and that is first point here for CR. And all they have to use is that nano. A fantastic start here from Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah. And again, they played it, slow and steady. Maywall from Top Dragon is awkward and doesn't really give KSG any defensive zone. Cloud here can set up, of course, with an amp matrix and make sure KSG has a buttload of healing to benefit from. He's going to pop up here on the high ground and do just that. But Top Dragon goes low and has been forced out of the fight for now. Heesang gets that sim wall in play now. Terra Surge popped by Max, probably just for the extra durability. I don't know if Lip was looking for that one. Matty clips the masonry there with that bowler shot, and it doesn't catch onto his intended target, but he does stick Nico with explosive bolt. There will be a trade of kills out from those Freyas, but a less than convincing engagement from Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, this is going to be one where VARREL comes out on top. And I think if you're VARREL, like we've seen in EMEA, I'm curious where they decide to play. A lot of teams we've seen play where like KSG is, right? Like play for that low ground, don't allow them to get that position, start work their way up the ramp. I'm curious to see how aggressive VARREL is going to end up playing here.
And first things first, try and put Slay in a bit more of an awkward off angle, force him to set up a more defensive healing pylon. See where it is. Located just around that corner, cleared often by the attackers, and here's that orbital rate coming out now. VARREL maybe too slow, realizing this could be a big issue for them. Annihilation use, this is a defensive application of that Ramatra ultimate. And KSG loses it pretty quickly as Crazy Raccoon will rapidly disengage away.
It looks like they won Top Dragon pretty bad, though. Top Dragon, yeah, ends up in the low ground, being chased there by Max, his lip. Just kind of searching for players here.
So much space for him.
Yeah, doesn't have access to the high ground. But KSG, is he controlling that space as the ramp? Doing a really nice job.
He's dead.
Yeah, once the sim come off spawn, a little surprised.
Yeah, I think Cloud was maybe hoping to throw a longer range Immortality field down there, but KSG was playing inside the small room, and it made it a little bit awkward for his backline to keep him topped up. That's something we're going to be tracking very closely, Matt, because in this matchup, KSG is going to become a pincushion to Max or Lip or even Shu.
This might be second point. I don't know if you're going to be able to challenge this for VARREL, and it looks like they're going to indeed end up giving it up, so they'll back out here.
And that TP gives them bridge access straight away. So Max gets set up in a very forward position, and this virtually gives Shu and Lip a huge amount of space to work with. And this Amp Matrix is, okay, it's going to give VARREL a look in here, but Max has the cooldowns to rotate, and it's a huge spend for an ultimate that actually doesn't get VARREL back in pole position.
I'm worried they're going to nano Max and just shoot him through that door with the Terror Surge, and they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
SG's working very hard to keep Max at bay, and it's worked out so far. Lip just loses out in a duel against Nico, and Shu doesn't really want to heal. Max is the nano going over. Caught by the Captive Sun connection, no one he's saying is going to fall now. Max finds himself face to face with Cloud and is able to deal with him. And with a Terror Surge still available, Lip pumping damage out, there's still much to do in this fight. There's the Surge, used mostly for the Fortify to stave off the slowing effect. And yeah, Top Dragon could not walk far enough away. Crazy Raccoon with 2 up, take a big fight. One in which VARREL spend that ultimate from the Ilarian.
I mean, that is a huge fight win there from Crazy Raccoon, just continuing to move the payload down the map here is Bola Shot. You'll have Orbital Ray here to be able to fight in.
Oh no!
That's a double bio there from Shu.
I mean, yeah, Nico also caught by one of the bolts from Lip. So there's no escape. He was bioed and stuck. He was guaranteed dead. All right, Blizzard going to come out here. The bowl shot is available to Lip, and the Orbital Ray is going to allow Crazy Raccoon to surge forward and control that higher ground. Now, VARREL have well and truly lost control of this defensive side and will barely have a chance to touch here. Lip holding onto the bowler, sends it straight on in. KSG with the Annihilation trying to stay alive, but there's a symbol in play. It's too easy to kite away from that area of effect. Damage from the Ramatra. Ice block used for Top Dragon to try and stall, but he's too far off the point to contest.
226 is a long time to finish with in the time bank there. From Crazy Raccoon. I wonder also, like, obviously map 1 was
that was nice.
Shot. Map 1 was a little bit closer than I think we expected. Probably Crazy Raccoon expected. I wonder if that was like, all right, we need to turn up on map number 2. Like, we can't take it easy.
So this one follows the script that I anticipated a little bit more closely, with the asterisk that I think Top Dragon is really holding his own up against Hisang and Lip, which is an accolade in and of itself. This moment here, though, a great fight from Crazy Raccoon. Very short-handed, but Max is able to pop a Terror Surge that he held onto for a hot minute. And was doing a good job at actually forcing KSG to fight in positions where he doesn't have good sightlines to his supports.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised with Top Dragon's performance. Like, we know he can hang with this level of players, right? I know, as you talked about, it's like bounced around the regions, bounced around teams, but we've seen top play from him everywhere he goes. So nothing surprising about Top Dragon's play. Obviously, you just need more from the rest of the team.
And this is what Max also can provide to a really stalwart Sigma player, allowing Chorong Jishu to play this pretty high damage, poke-centric, aggressive-looking backline. Chorong on the Liari is it's forced to be reckoned with, and Shoes Baptiste has actually been etched in the annals of Overwatch history on more than one occasion.
I wonder, are they going to play, let's see, there's still some, I was like, are they going to play the Alari with the Juno, and it seems like they are. So dropping the BAP for the Alari, you obviously get some speed to maybe get past the shield here from Max.
So this poke comp isn't great at retaking space to take the healing pylon down. So against the Sigma comp, I think Iliara is pretty heads up, and you probably want the orbital ray to, enhance KSG's ability just to run people down. The Max, obviously, with the hyperspheres, can get them into some of those corners where the healing pylons are set up, and Slay probably would have wanted to recall that before it got blown up, but VARREL are still moving forward. But this corner, this is where the defenders really like to stake their claim to the map.
A lot used here by VARREL to just kind of gain this position, right? They end up using their speed ring, a May wall, they end up using a Nemesis form, so a lot of cooldowns used there, and everybody just backs up for CR, and then they take the space right back.
Max has done such a good job of rotating his cooldowns and backing up, gaining space, and in trying to take the space that Max is giving up, KSG's taking damage from 30 different angles. It's coming in from Chorong, Shu, Lip, some of them are on the coastline, some of them are in the back line. Really tough to keep your ram topped up when you've got to move out of range of that healing pylon to actually take the space.
You need to execute this perfectly, it feels like, for VARREL to be able to make it work, especially no Lucio. It'll be a captive sun here from Slay.
Okay, Gravitic Flux out in response. Juno was caught, but not enough damage before dropping down to get the insta-kill. Slay's able to deal with Chorong now, really trying to go after these backliners on their own, and shoot. Doesn't have any mortality field to lean on. Nice little passage of play from the one of two Koreans on this squad. And Slay has allowed VARREL to get this first checkpoint.
Yeah, and KSG ends up throwing a ram shield up there to kind of protect him as he drops to the low ground, as CR will change. They will match the Ramatra here. So really, only difference is that BAP, obviously, for Crazy Raccoon, and then the Sim in play.
You see these positions, like where that pylon is? A poke comp of Sigma won't be able to clear that.
Yes.
This comp can. Max switches over to more of a rush style here, but they still have that fairly aggressive backline look. Orbital Ray comes in, but VARREL actually losing their opportunity to really benefit from it now, as it looked like that Captive Sun forced them all to sort of group up or disengage. So not only, Matt, do they lose Nico, but that Orbital Ray goes for very little.
Well, I think it was the combination of the Amp Matrix plus the Captive Sun that got them pretty scared, even with their Orbital Ray to push on through.
I mean, you can't group up in an Orbital Ray under a Captive Sun. I mean, you are going to get fried. Maybe an overpush here, though, for Crazy Raccoon. Max definitely getting a little close to the sun. I mean that literally and figuratively. Caught with a bowler shot here. Frosty reception for Max, but Nico also suffers it from Lip. Things are slowed down for VARREL, but Crazy Raccoon are ready to repost up on this corner.
Yeah, but VARREL end up having their Captive Sun, Annihilation, and Blizzard here. So maybe you can catch this ram out. You end up losing Nico, but look at this. Shu is actually caught off on his own. He uses the Immortality Field. That's not going to end up keeping him alive.
So he bought himself some precious seconds, and there was a Sim TP into the backline by Crazy Raccoon, and he was able to take Top Dragon out of the fight. So that May wall that would otherwise slow Max down is now off the field. This should be enough here for Crazy Raccoon to regroup with, and looks like KSG running into the backline, bites off more than he can chew, and Slay is picked off at longer range in the meantime.
Yeah, although KSG pushes on through and he kills Shu, it just ends up with VARREL so split, right? And players from Crazy Raccoon on both sides of them, they were never really able to kind of like prioritize any of the targets and just kind of whittle down over time, where now the time bank here from Crazy Raccoon still 226. The one from VARREL is not, even if they kind of speed ran the rest of the map.
That's right. Yeah,
they've been close.
Really slowed down in the second phase of the map here, understandably. Here's that Annihilation, though. Crazy Raccoon look like they want to linger around. The Sim wall's going to force KSG back away. Yet another VARREL ultimate that is, frankly, upfront countered by what Crazy Raccoon can leverage. And once again, you've got Amp Matrix, Captive Sun available. Scary, because VARREL want to use their Orbital Ray, but they may be denied it yet again. Here's the Sun. Slay sees it, blinded, seared into his memory was Chorong running him down. And there's nowhere for Nico to go either. Chorong won't be denied. Max does fall, the cart's on the move. The Maywall could be a problem, and another dodgy bowler shot there from Lip goes into the Maywall, thrown up in his face. But only insult, no injury, as VARREL are unable to convert.
I was like, oh, maybe they get Max towards the end, and you still had KSG alive. Maybe it gets a little bit interesting, but you know, losing Nico, you lost a lot of your damage output here from VARREL. So now you're walking back into another Amp Matrix. You're going to be able to use your own Captive Sun, so I think like try and get that Immortality Field out, Captive Sun, maybe even use the Captive Sun to do it. and then follow it up with like Blizzard, you're going to have that pretty soon here from Top Dragon.
Top Dragon on the sneak up. Blizzard to stop Max will be crucial, but he doesn't have Annihilation here. And will happily disengage away. Shu caught inside the bowler shot. Is going to have an immortality field to keep him alive, and there's a sim TP that will allow him to translate across the map. That's been cleared. He's essentially stuck here for the time being, and Nico is on the hunt. Max knocked back by this outburst. Slay putting big damage down into Max, and he's able to dodge away from the Vortex.
Oh, he gets here at the final second to contest.
Not quite a cap there. Max can intervene and stop Top Dragon from doing his job, and Shu desperately trying to keep his team in the game. I think he's done enough here. Nico, big damage on Shu. Yet another self-immortality field keeps Shu in the game.
We don't see it, but how in the world does he play on that high ground and then alone get all the way back to the rest of the team alive to be able to kind of use that immortality field and make that play? I mean, it's literally only things that he does.
There's an ethereal quality about that man, make no mistake. Shu is a god of the game. Jorong, big flank, catches on with the captive sign in the direction of Slay. And it's going to be the elimination now of the Iliari. KSD in trouble here with the bowler shot. Lip flattens him. Shu was able to take down the Ramatra, and that will be the end of the line here for VARREL on this map. Not much more to be done now as the Blizzard is thrown out. The card is unbesmirched, and Crazy Raccoon advance out of their opener. A clean 2-0.
Yeah, map 1 was really close. VARREL put up a great fight. Map 2, though, after VARREL took that first point, didn't really make a ton of progress there towards getting that second checkpoint, where even if they did, the time bank for Crazy Raccoon was going to be really difficult, even if you completed the map to beat.
Honestly, I'm impressed by the South Korean duo of Top Dragon and Slay on VARREL's side of things. They look very good, and the rest of this group features Rock Esports and Team Liquid. Opportunities abound for this VARREL team to continue to demonstrate their quality and to make it through. But it's a tough road from here on out, and Crazy Raccoon are simply delivering on the promise they made coming into this Esports World Cup. This time, they plan to be champions. Strong showing in Hangzhou at the Champions Clash. They really took Falcons to task over a longer series. And now they're here to claim, well, even more of that glory for themselves. This is the most important tournament of the year to date. And this Champions Clash winning team are here to throw down at our mid-season championship.
And a lot like